And I'm back. Finally back on YouTube. To be back, especially with so much has been going on in the world and so much has happened since I had last talked to you. I know I'm kind of disappointed in myself by not making enough YouTube videos for you, but I am going to try my best now. I've been extremely busy with just work and just life in general, but I promise you, I'm going to be making at least one video a week or every other week for you guys, and I'll make sure I am consistent and keep you up to date on my whole entire life. I'm not going to give you major updates today because I wanted this video to be focused on my vision for 2022 and the goals that I have in store for 2022, and I might need your help in one of those goals in deciding what I want to do. So without further ado, let's get started on this video. Happy New Year's! Welcome back to the channel, LifeofaPsychNP. If you are new to this channel, let me formally introduce myself. I'm Darty. I'm a board-certified psychiatric nurse practitioner, and in this channel, I go over several different subjects to educate the public about mental health, ways to improve your lifestyle, topics related to nursing, nurse practitioners, and specifically psychiatric nurse practitioners like myself. So if you are interested in any of these topics, feel free to subscribe, make sure you like this video, and follow me on Instagram at LifeofaPsychNP. So, you probably clicked this video because you were wondering where I was, or maybe you're new to the channel, or maybe you just want to hear my goals on what I want to accomplish in 2022. And I know we're already halfway through January, but at the same time, these goals are still attainable, and I have 11 and a half more months to accomplish these goals, and I'm excited to kind of share my goals with you. I know you hear so many things on YouTube, you read so many things on Instagram on what certain goals that people want to accomplish, but for me, as a psychiatric nurse practitioner and just a human being, I want to be able to focus in on 5. They're either going to be personal goals, career goals, or just hobbies that I actually want to do. But without further ado, let's go over my 5 goals for 2022. Let's go. So my very first goal in 2022 is just living a healthier lifestyle and actually practicing self-care. And as a mental health provider and as someone that works in the nursing realm, we hear a lot about self-care, we hear a lot about making sure and educating others about wanting to live a healthier lifestyle just so you can live longer or live just healthier in general. And unfortunately, I'm one of those people that don't necessarily play by those rules. Yes, I educated a lot, but it was a little bit more difficult for me to actually do. But this year is different. I'm making sure I focus in on my mental health, making sure I focus in on my medical side of things, and making sure I focus in on self-care. And like I said, we stress self-care so much, especially being a psychiatric nurse practitioner and working in mental health, but we don't necessarily take the time for ourselves to practice self-care. So self-care can range into so many different things, but for me, I want to be able to have enough time for myself to focus in on certain hobbies or focus in on doing certain things that I absolutely enjoy. And yes, I know it's a lot easier said than done, but at the same time, I want to make sure I can actually do it. And with having been so busy recently with starting my practice, growing my practice, and even having multiple providers now, it gets tiring. But at the same time, I want to be able to focus in on myself and actually learn how to delegate instead of taking on all of these roles. And I want to be able to take some time aside and be like, okay, Darty, this is your day. Take this day to actually do whatever you want, whether it's watching movies all day, whether it's being able to go to the beach, or whether it's being able to actually go to the gym and just hang out and work out, and instead of always being in a rush. But this is my actual first goal. I want to focus on eating healthier, I want to focus on exercising more, and focus in on doing things that I absolutely enjoy and taking time to myself to be able to focus in on self-care. And I think ultimately this is a solid first goal for 2022 and definitely attainable for sure. So my second goal for 2022 is to grow my social media accounts, which include my YouTube channel and my Instagram. I don't have TikTok, maybe I'll start it, maybe I won't, but I want to focus in on those two. I made it a passion of mine to be able to focus in on those things last year, but obviously life happens and it was a little bit more difficult. But when I was thinking about just starting this channel in general, I wanted to reach a large amount of people to be able to make a large impact into getting into mental health and to be able to impact patients that are suffering from mental health disorders. And that was my main goal. And now that is something that I want to be able to strive for, because at the end of the day, the more people I'm able to reach that are amongst professionals, the more I'm able to have these professionals actually treat patients that are suffering from mental health disorders and making a better impact on them. So I want to be able to target a small amount of people to be able to target their patient load and impact them. And I think this is a solid goal, and I'm definitely going to be more active in social media, and I definitely want to be able to teach more, educate more, especially people that are definitely wanting to go into this field but are on the fence. So that is a goal of mine. So my third goal for 2022 is somewhat far-fetched, but at the same time something that can be a passion of mine. And I know I talked about creating or having or starting or even implementing or even just doing something that you're passionate about. Maybe this is something that I get to actually do and actually educate at the same time. But I have this idea of starting like a YouTube podcast channel just to kind of either do one of two subjects. My first subject is either growing my private practice, so kind of going through the ups and downs, how to start it, how to be able to implement certain things, how I came across choosing this program over this program, blah, 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 and just going over those things, and maybe even bringing on other practice owners and seeing how they had what their rationales were, what their thought processes were when starting their own private practice. Or the second one I have in mind is actually having a same thing, podcast, YouTube channel that talk about like just work or things beyond just work, whether they're in the mental health field, whether they're in medical care, but talking to them about their interests and seeing what they like and what they do, like whether it's investing, whether it's starting other companies, whether they're liking what they do with hobbies, just everything beyond actual medical or mental health care. And I think this is going to be a huge channel, because a lot of times in our channels or the channels that are centered around the medical field is they're just focused in on the medical field, but they don't necessarily focus in on the person beyond the medical field. And that's something I wanted to kind of shed light on, because people get so focused on just medical and doing these things and making it within the medical field, but they don't find interest beyond that. And sometimes that's where these people in the medical field become stuck, and they end up just hating what they do, and they don't have these passions beyond it. And if I can kind of talk to other people, shed light on other ideas, I think it's going to be great for other people to understand. And these are the two ideas that I have in mind, but definitely comment down below which one you feel like is going to be a better channel. Maybe I'll combine both of them, but for the most part I want to make sure I can focus in on one, and just I think either way I'm going to make a huge impact in impacting a larger community. So definitely comment down below which one of these two ideas you feel like would be better, or for you would want to hear about, especially if you are in the medical or mental health field. So my fourth goal in 2022 is to learn how to invest in myself more, and just learn how to invest in general. Yes, I understand certain ways to invest my money and being able to kind of grow my money, but I want to go beyond just like your normal Roth IRA, 401k, stocks, mutual funds, ETFs, all of those things. I want to be able to go beyond that. And one thing that I've kind of learned, especially being in the medical field, is that we are so closed off to certain ideas, and that's all we can kind of think of, instead of looking at all the other things around us to kind of help us to be able to actually learn other things, whether it's learning how to invest in properties, or learning how to invest in business ideas, or learning how to invest in things, Bitcoin, all of these different types of things. And I feel like I'm so used to talking to these people and they're like, oh, don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. But in reality, a lot of us don't even know exactly what all of these things are. And I feel like that's something I've been lacking, is not necessarily opening myself up to things beyond what other people are saying and just learning about it and seeing if it's a better investment opportunity for myself. I definitely want to get into like real estate. I think that's a huge one for myself, and I think that's going to be a huge opportunity for me because that's something that can build generational wealth, and that's something I'm all for. And just investing myself by reading more, listening to more podcasts, listening to more audiobooks, and just being able to dive in and learning all of this information. And I think that's something definitely attainable, especially with just being able to invest in myself. Like, I've learned so much about trying to start my practice, and I'm still learning way more, but at the same time there's a cutoff, and I think I need to dive into different I don't know. I don't know why I keep on thinking specialties, but different opportunities or different areas within business, not just thinking about just the medical side, but maybe looking into like other things like marketing, business side of things, and seeing if I can bring that back to be able to grow my practice and see what other creative ways are there to be able to scale to a larger amount of providers, or scale to a larger amount of buildings or offices or whatever the case is. But I definitely want to be able to kind of dive in a little bit deeper and invest in myself, and then invest into just other opportunities to build that generational wealth that I've been wanting for my whole life, but I just never had the income or never had the knowledge. But now that I have some better income, and now that I have time to be able to dive into these things, I think this is something I want to focus in on. So my fifth and final goal for 2022 is to grow and scale my private practice into a group practice. And I know I mentioned earlier that I did hire on providers, and I do have a front desk staff, and I have office assistants. So right now as we speak, so this is Monday, January 17th, and this video is probably coming out on Saturday. So right now as we speak, I have 2 virtual assistants. One is going to be full-time and one's part-time, and I have 1 part-time office staff, and I have 2 part-time psychiatric mental health nurse practitioners. And like I said, I've been extremely busy, but at the same time I feel like I'm not as busy as I want to be. And obviously there's certain limitations on bringing too many providers all at once, but I feel like since I started late last year, and now their caseloads are growing, I feel like these goals that I have in mind are attainable. So my first goal is to, like I said, grow and scale my private practice into a group practice. We are already a group practice, but I want to be able to have a larger group practice, meaning I want to have at least 4 providers, not including myself, but 4 providers that are either working 3 days, 4 days, or 5 days, closer to full time. And I want to have 2 therapists, whether they're LCSWs, whether they're associates, or whether they're LMFT, psychologists. But that is my goal by the end of 2022. I know it's going to be difficult to attain. I know there's different things that I have to implement in order for me to be able to even get to that level. But one thing I've noticed is the more people you bring on, the more money you're going to have to shell out, and sometimes that's difficult, especially just being the main provider. Yes, I have other jobs that can kind of supplement it, but at the same time, if I want to make this my full time, this is something that I want to do. And I feel like this goal is obtainable. It's not like an outlandish thing like, oh, I want to be able to build or have 3 different offices scattered throughout the state or Southern California or throughout the city. It's nothing like that. I just want to be able to get into a bigger office, have 4 providers, not including myself, scale down on the amount of time that I see patients in my private practice, and have 2 therapists. And I think it's totally obtainable, but at the same time, I have to do it in a calculated rate just so I don't end up spending way too much money. And right now I'm based off of kind of reimbursement, and it's only the half of the month of January, but I can totally tell that reimbursement this month compared to last month or November is way lower than normal. And you have to account for deductibles, you have to account for patients missing appointments, you have to account for COVID, you have to account for all of the holidays with people not putting in reimbursement or getting reimbursed. There's so many different factors that I definitely knew about, but I definitely didn't think it'd be this bad. Like, it's pretty low, like reimbursement, it's pretty low, but it is what it is. That's the reality of having your own private practice. But I definitely feel like this is going to be a great one, and I'm excited to bring you guys along. I'd rather tell you my goals now so I can look back at this video and be like, okay, which goals did I accomplish and which goals am I going to have to work on a little bit more to make sure I can hit them next time. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope it kind of shed light on what's going on in my life right now, what's going on in my brain, what I want to actually obtain, what kind of goals I have, and I'm excited to bring you along regardless of whether or not I accomplish these goals. I'm definitely going to make sure to bring you guys along just so you can go throughout this journey. And like I said, make sure you guys comment down below on which podcast YouTube channel you think would be better, whether it's the Growing My Private Practice one or talking about stuff beyond medical care or mental health or just the medical field in general. So definitely comment down below. And yeah, like I said, I'm going to try to make videos at least once a week or once every other week, and make sure you keep me guys, or make sure you guys keep me accountable, because yeah, I can go on and on without making a YouTube video because different priorities. But like I said, my goal number 2, grow my social media, so I'm gonna make this a priority. Well guys, have a wonderful day, and until next time, bye.